The 2025 NBA draft is in the books, so let's recap it. Who are some players that can have an impact in fantasy? Which teams did well? Which teams did, reverse well? Michael Bolton?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and first of all, I just want to apologize. There was no show yesterday. We do have some different leadership in charge and decision makers, so no show yesterday. On an unrelated note, Troy Weaver is now the general manager of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Double bang, give a thumb, leave a comment. All right, so this time of year is an interesting one. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's also a lot of stuff happening for me personally because we headed across to the US in a week's time, meaning that content that I create some of the stuff needs to be pre-recorded and put out in different spots. So it gets a little bit, not necessarily messy, but like things can be a bit broken up. I go over there. I'm going to be going to some baseball games. I'm going to be going over to Summer League and just to have some time off right at this time of year. So I'll say all of that. Yesterday, I was going to do a show recapping the draft, but we still had the second round to go, and I wanted to see the second round happen. The two-way guys position themselves, and I was absolutely just destroyed from that live show. I was so exhausted, so I took the day off, and I'm recording here on a Saturday morning. What I'm going to do, just to give you some real overview in terms of what's going to be happening over the next 3 to 4 weeks. In terms of the draft, we are going to do a recap show now. So today's show here, what I'm talking about are 5 players with a couple of little extras thrown in that I think can have an impact in redraft leagues for fantasy this season in terms of guys that you would consider drafting. Because there'll be other guys that have value later in the season that will be iffy early on, regardless. I'm going to talk about 5 of the teams that were winners at the draft, I think. And I got 4 teams that were losers at the draft. That is the crux of this show. The next shows that come out will be Dynasty Rookie Rankings. Once I get all of the two-way contracts announced or whatever we can get information there and put all that into my stuff, and then we'll go through and do all those. But those shows will come out probably a little bit later before Summer League starts, but something that I am, because not much changes from the draft through to Summer League in terms of the rookies and how we value them. That'll come out probably when I'm away. So that sort of individual team breakdown on every picks will be a little bit later, which is not perfect, but I need to make sure I can space all this stuff out. We will do free agency recaps as it's happening in free agency until I leave. And we've got some other things thrown in there. So we are going to have Dynasty Rookie Ranks as the next show after this. And then we will have full draft recaps for all teams, their undrafted hauls, their first and second round picks. So I hope that explains everything that we are going to do. It is National Ceviche Day in Peru. So if you're in Peru, or anyway, just have a ceviche. It's a good meal. It's fun. All right. How are we going to start this off? We're going to start off by talking about 5 rookies that I think will be interesting enough to look at in redraft. Now, a lot can change with this because free agency can impact this part of it. There are players that I'm not going to mention who are high picks in the draft, who will undoubtedly get drafted, but I think will be bad for 2 to 3 months to begin the season, and then the opportunities will start to come after that. For example, I'm not going to mention Ace Bailey as one of these guys, because at the moment, Walker Kessler, John Collins, Larry Markkinen, Kyle Filipowski, Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson are all there. Bailey doesn't pass or defend. He's not a good rebounder. He's not a good shooter. He needs volume. And he's not getting it until other stuff happens, right? So if you draft Ace Bailey now, if you draft him in redraft leagues, he might be the 300th best player for 2 months. Yes? I'm not going to be talking about Trey Johnson as the top 5 redraft players for a very simple reason. They have CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton and Bob Carrington and Marcus Smart. And is Trey Johnson the future of the team? Yes. Yes, he is. But he'll be bad. He won't have peripheral stats. His shooting will be poor. And until those guys get shut down, shipped off, his ability to have consistency won't be there. So again, if you're drafting Trey Johnson, I think he'll be bad for you early on. I'm not going to include VJ Edgecombe on this list, even though VJ Edgecombe looks pretty good from a statistical point of view. Because they're going to have Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George, and Joel Embiid, and Jared McCain, and Quentin Grimes, and maybe Kelly Oubre. Does Edgecombe even start? Is he anything more than a steal streamer? Yep. So they're just covering off some of those names that I think it is important to talk about. Let's go to the obvious one. Who is a top 5 redraft player? Guess what? It's Cooper Flagg. Yeah, I know. That's a real tough one, isn't it? Because Cooper Flagg went number 1. We knew he was going number 1. He's a top 5 pick in dynasty leagues. He will be, I think he's got a legitimate chance to be an above average redraft contributor in every single category, which is just something that doesn't happen. I think that he will undoubtedly go in the top 50 of drafts. I think that he has a really strong shot of being a top 40 guy. I think it's not without possibility that he's a top 20 player this season. I think I would never draft him there, and I won't project him there. But I think it's possible that he is that. So he's a very clear one. Whether you want to take the risk on that, on a team that is for some reason got a million big men. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis, by the way, all centers. PJ Washington, yes, he's on that team still as well. Cooper Flagg, are they going to play Cooper Flagg at the 2? Where does Klay Thompson play? They have no point guards, although it looks like it'll be D'Angelo Russell. Flagg is better than all those guys except for Anthony Davis at this point. So there is some question about it, but there's no question he'll be drafted. There's no question he will be a easily rosterable player all season. Not any queries about that whatsoever. That's an easy, simple one. After him, because of the way the lottery shook out, with teams jumping up, with good teams getting ravaged by injury, then tanking, Philadelphia, we don't get to this situation which we've had in previous years. And I think this is all, and I said this in the live draft show about the need for expansion in the NBA, is that there's a lot of talent all around the league. Even on bad teams, there's a lot of talent. And we don't get these situations where rookies come in and have, well, here's 34 minutes, you get to run the show and you're awesome all the time. That just doesn't happen as much. We still get the top guys, obviously, doing their thing. But there's not these where this team's got these gigantic openings and the rookie comes in as already the best player on the team very much. That doesn't happen that much anymore because there is a lot of talent around. So finding these guys who are probably going to be close enough to your redraft guys immediately is hard. I'm going to Charlotte. I'm going to the areola himself, Knipple. Because I do think that he has an ability to start immediately. He has an ability to fit around everyone there. LaMelo, Miller, the areola, Bridges, and, well, we'll talk about the center position in a second. He will probably be a 16 usage player. He might average 13 points with 5 rebounds and 3.5 assists with 1.2 steals and 2.2 threes and shoot okay. I don't think he's going to be a top 50 player or anything along those lines, old Connie. But he should be able to walk into a role. He should be a player who's able to maintain a level of efficiency straight up, and that will be useful. I think that he would be a round 11, 12 sort of flyer in redraft leagues. I don't think that he's got top 50 or top 60 upside, and I can see that from the March to April period of next season, there'll be 5 or 6 rookies who are better than him. Although, given how Charlotte is, I think that we might be in for another tank season for them, I think. We'll see what happens in free agency. But Knipple, I think, has this opportunity to come in here and be a starter from day one, get 30 minutes from day one, and contribute in multiple categories from day one. So I wouldn't be afraid to take him in those later rounds. That takes us to the other position on this team that's interesting, and that is the center position. Not often do we talk about second round guys, but I was talking about Ryan Kalkbrenner a lot. I thought there was a chance he would go to Boston at 28. And I go, oh, that's interesting because who is their center? Xavier Tillman, Luke Cornett, who's unsigned, Al Horford, who's unsigned, Nemesh Kader, who's non-guaranteed. But they didn't pick him there. And then I thought Charlotte would get him at 29, and they didn't pick him there. But they did pick him at pick number 34, Ryan Kalkbrenner, because they traded, as we know, they traded away Mark Williams. So he doesn't exist on this team anymore. Moussa Diabate is there. Yusuf Nurkic is probably going to be one of the bigger winners so far from the draft in terms of someone I think will be draftable, and it's Nurkic, I know, but they preferred him over Diabate last season. Diabate is fine. He's not that good. Kalkbrenner would be a late round flyer type. He blocks shots at an incredible level. I think he can shoot a little bit. He scores, he rebounds. He's got high field goals. That's the makings of a good fantasy player. The free throws are iffy. He does need to win at least a backup spot, but Nurkic's health is not reliable. His play is not reliable. Diabate is not reliable. So there are opportunities here, and that's what we want to see. And that's where Kalkbrenner comes in. We'll talk more about the Charlotte Hornets, I think, a little bit later on. We're talking about teams that had the best or worst drafts. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by Skims. Skims has been around making stuff for women. I saw some new products for Skims women the other day, which was a little interesting, but that's not the purview of this ad. We're talking about Skims men's. And if you had issue with underwear, getting it to fit and be comfortable, because you know that you need that support, well, Skims men's has got the answer. The great fit, the great comfort, the great styles. The sizing is fantastic, the colors are great, the material is awesome. It's the perfect balance of comfort and style. The boxer briefs are probably the ones that I like the best, but they've got regular briefs, they've got regular boxes as well. You might be working out, you might be running errands, you might be sitting on the couch watching Locked On Fantasy Basketball. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, comfy undies are such a huge W, and that's where Skims comes in. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select this show in the drop-down menu that follows. All right, let's get through some more of these top 5 players in redraft leagues who I think will be draftable. And this one, I'm not 100% convinced on Dylan Harper. Not because I don't think Dylan Harper was worthy of pick number 2 in the draft, because he was, right? I firmly believe that. That's where he should have gone. My problem is what do they do minutes-wise? I, again, firmly believe he is a much better prospect than Stephon Castle. I think that he will immediately become a better player than Stephon Castle. De'Aaron Fox does exist, though. Devin Vassell is there. Jeremy Sohan is around. Will Harper start? I bloody hope so. Will it be Harper and Fox? Will Harper play 27 minutes a night? He would be one that I'd be comfortable drafting in round 11 or 12. I think that he will be overrated in some spots. And then I'd move on if it doesn't work out, if he's playing 25 minutes a night and they're prioritizing Castle for some reason. I'd be okay with doing that. But it is just going to take a little bit of time to see where it goes. The assists should be pretty good. The steal rate should be pretty good. The volume of shooting should be okay. But again, you're dealing with Fox and Wemby. So I look at this as a nice pick for redraft leagues for a rookie, for Dylan Harper. But I'm not 100% there on it. Just because there is some iffiness with how it works. I think that his talent will be good enough to win over, like, say, for example, Edgecombe. Right? I don't think Edgecombe's talent will win over ahead of Maxey or George or Embiid. And then you've got McCain and Grimes in the mix too. I have someone I haven't even mentioned, Jeremiah Fears. I don't think he's starting over Jordan Poole or Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. Not even sure he starts back up over Jose Alvarado, to be honest. But I think Harper's going to be good enough to find that role pretty quickly. Like, pretty quickly. So he's the guy that I've got in there as my 4th of these redraft guys. And the last one is, much like Ryan Kalkbrenner, and much like the Areola Concanipple and Cooper Flagg, in terms of one of them is a center in Kalkbrenner, and the other two played for the same college, we're going for Kaman Malwach, who I was really excited about when Phoenix took him. And then, of course, literally 10 seconds later, they traded for Mark Williams. But guess what? Mark Williams had a trade renounced due to health concerns. We all know that. Mark Williams has now been traded twice by the Charlotte Hornets. I would guess they don't want to pay him, but also in part because of health concerns. The other centers on that team are bad, as in Nick Richards. He sucks. Malawach would be someone that I would take a crack at early on, but it might not work out. But much like with Kalkbrenner, if Malawach plays 20 minutes, now Williams, we saw down the stretch, played 30 minutes a night for Charlotte, 30 plus, and he was great. So this might be just completely useless. But Williams can get hurt. We've seen that a million times. Malawach can block shots. He's got good free throws. He's got good field goals. He can shoot a little bit. He's a good rebounder. I think that they would love to get him a little bit more. But of course, this might mean nothing because Mark Williams just might play 33 minutes. The reason I put Malawach here is that he doesn't need 30 minutes. He doesn't need 30 usage. He doesn't need 25 usage to be useful. He just needs to be on the court for 23 minutes. Much like with Kalkbrenner. That's where he needs to be. So again, it's a little bit like with Dylan Harper, is we sort of have to see how he gets prioritized and what the role is. I could imagine for 2 weeks that Malawach is the 3rd center behind the Charlotte Hornets pairing of Williams and Richards. but I don't think it will take that long to get into a larger role. Of course, Osei Gadaro is still there, so it is a little iffy, but this is where we talk about with this draft class. There's a lot of guys that I like. There's a lot of dynasty value that I like, but there's no real clear, this guy's going to bang immediately. It's Flagg. It's probably the Areola, but after that, don't know. And then we'll see things start to take shape in January, February, March, most likely. Like you could say, what about Derek Queen? He could put up good numbers, or Colin Murray-Boyles, but what if they probably play 20 minutes? And I don't think that that's that easy to get that role. Now, maybe New Orleans decides that Queen is the starter opening night. They'll lose by 50 points every game, but maybe they decide that. Then we would draft him. And that's where we need to see what happens through training camp and all that sort of thing to really get an idea of how that plays out. Now, what I want to do is get into the teams, the winners, the teams that had the best drafts, and the teams that had the worst drafts. So let's talk about winners. That's a good place to start. We want to talk about things that are good and positive. Let's talk about this team, the Charlotte Hornets. I think they cooked, to be honest. Now, they had opportunities because they're bad, very clearly, but all of their picks. Now, there are some of them that you could suggest that maybe they did focus a little bit on local, organic, bespoke, artisan players, just from the local areas around the Charlotte zone, which is true, but that's okay too, because Concanipple at 4 is great. Liam McNeely, who at times I had in the lottery, I think I had him at 16 overall. A forward-sized guy who can shoot, and didn't shoot well at UConn, I know that, but the shooting, I believe, for him is pretty real. That's a strong pick. Now, he won't be a guy that impacts fantasy much initially, but as an overall draft, I like it. Sion James, another local guy. He shot well at Duke, low volume. It's a good-sized body, good defender. Might not turn into anything more than like I know this is crazy because this guy's picked top 5, Isaac Okoro, but that sort of a defensive guy with no offense, possible, right? But at pick 33, it's okay. And then at pick 34, a guy that I thought should have been in the first round and has a chance to be a starting center, and that's Ryan Kalkbrenner. Again, I think it's hard to argue with that squad as being useful, as being more than useful, in fact, being really good. So that's where we're at with them. What about another team who was a winner? Now, this one is not necessarily because of the draft picks that they made, because Atlanta only made one pick, and that was number 23, Asen Newell. But it's the other stuff they did, because they were targeting Asen Newell at 13. I thought Asen Newell could have easily gone in the teens. He's a local guy as well. Oh, we're going local again. But what they did, by swindling the worst GM of the last 10 years, Troy Weaver, with one of the worst organizations in the NBA, the Pelicans, to get that unprotected first-round pick next season, just to move back 10 spots and still get the guy that you wanted, not even including what they did with the Porzingis deal. They got a shot easy to be top 4 in the East, maybe, honestly, top 2? No, maybe. But Newell's not going to contribute immediately, but he's got the profile of someone that can really work out. Shot blocking, maybe shooting, rebounding. He's a 4, maybe a bit of small ball 5. They're not going to need him immediately, but this is like, getting that player is fine at 23. It's not like, oh, that's the huge win. What a W. You guys cooked. Unbelievable. That's not what that's about. It's about getting him while also getting a pick which legitimately could be the number 1 overall pick next season or number 2 overall. Getting Kambuza, AJ DeBanza, Peterson, getting one of those guys onto your team next season, in addition to this, is unbelievable. Every team should be trying to swindle Troy Weaver and Joe Dumas. They don't know what they're doing. I'm very convinced they don't know what they're doing. Just a spoiler alert of the top of the worst drafts coming up. They don't know what they're doing. So, yeah. The Hawks with the swindling, absolute W. Another team that I thought was really good and had one of the best drafts. Again, this isn't about like who took the best player, because you take the best player when you got the highest pick. It's about what do you do with the resources you have available. So this team just won the title. Oh, that's the wrong button. Didn't mean to push that one. My apologies. Sacramento Kings, that's exactly not what we want to do. That's just a spoiler for what's coming up. The team that had the best draft here to me, or not one of the top 5 drafts, was the Oklahoma City Thunder. At pick 15, they took Thomas Sorber, who to me was a top 10 player, who I had as better than Derek Queen and Kaman Malawach as a center. They're not going to use him. We're not talking about the fantasy value of Thomas Sorber for this season, because there's Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. But at some point in the future, Hartenstein might go, Chet might get hurt, Sorber might get traded. But getting the value there at 15 is great. And then their next pick, now I don't like what they did at 24. So I don't like the fact that they traded that pick away, and I don't think they got any value for it at all. But that's okay. What they did at 44, getting someone like Brooks Barnhizer, who's going to be on a two-way contract, just another one of these guys. Just think about the amount of players they've done in this sort of a zone. AJ Mitchell, Aaron Wiggins in the second round, and turned them into legitimate contributors on a title team. Barnhizer might not be that guy, but he's on a two-way immediately. It's a really strong pick, good shooting wing, exactly the sort of things that this team needs. I think that, given the resources you had, I would have loved for them to do more with pick 24, honestly. But the weight of getting Thomas Sorber in there is overrides it to me. So now that does bring me on to the team that did do a deal with the Thunder to get that pick 24, and that's the Sacramento Kings. Now, most people would say that I'm a Kings hater. I just think that I'm a Kings realist because, let's be, again, fair, they are shithouse. They have got a terrible owner with a historically bad track record of front office play. That is literally not debatable. But I love what they did in this draft. And again, when I'm talking about who had the best draft, I'm not talking about who got the best player because it's not really what it's about. They came in without a pick in the first round. They traded away that Spurs protected first round pick, it's the Spurs, and it doesn't just carry on, it turns into 2 seconds if it doesn't convey. I think it's top 16 protected. So there's a real chance that it's actually worse than the pick that they made here at 24. And because once a pick is in the future as well, there's some value is lost. And getting Nick Clifford at pick 24. Now, Nick Clifford is older. We know this. He's an older player. But the Kings don't have wings really that are very good. And they've got a logjam at guard, and they're trying to work out deals allegedly with Malik Monk to move on from him. We'll see. But Clifford's a player that handles the ball, can defend, can shoot, can ramp usage up, can ramp usage down. An older guy who is not going to be a star by any means, but a really strong role. They were playing Doug McDermott, Jay Crowder last season. Bruh, come on. Like, anything over those guys is an upgrade. Now, Clifford maybe doesn't work out, but the maneuverability to get into this spot and to take him. And then, at pick 42, Maxime Reynaud, again, a local guy, went to Stanford. It's sort of local. As a backup center, a guy that showed some rim protection towards the end of the season, shooting, scoring, rebounding, behind Domantas Sabonis. Honestly, I knock on wood here. Maybe not knock on wood. I say this very quietly, just in case any of the Sabonis come at me. Could Reynaud be a better player than Sabonis on this team in a few years? Yeah, easily. All right, shooting and shot blocking around the other guys. Interesting. It's not going to happen immediately. But their backup center situation currently is Jonas Valanciunas, who is a little washed. It's Trey Lyles, who's a free agent. So Reynaud is not going to do much now. And he's 22, he's a senior. So, there are things against it, but getting those guys there. And then they picked up Dylan Cardwell, who, again, really interesting player. Could have been drafted easily. He's on a two-way for them as well. So I love what they did in terms of with the resources they had, the players they got. You could easily make an argument here that they got 2 top 20 players without a pick inside the top 20 in Clifford and Reynaud, which is always, I think, going to be considered a pretty large W. The last team that I want to talk about as being a winner in the draft is the Phoenix Suns. Now, I've been a little critical of Phoenix, I think rightfully so, for some of the stuff that they've done over the last couple of years. I didn't love the KD trade for them. I don't like this idea of trying to rebuild when your team's going nowhere. But with what they needed to do and what they wanted to do, I think the maneuvers they made in this draft were huge W's. The players they took, W's. Cameron Malawach at pick 10. Love it. I love it. Trading for Mark Williams at the same time, iffy. Right? Not that I don't like Williams, but getting Malawach, good. Trading back to pick 31 to get Rasheer Fleming, who, honestly, I say this honestly, there is a realistic chance that at some point in the 25 portion of this upcoming season, Fleming starts. Because Ryan Dunn's their power forward, or it's Royce O'Neal, I guess, at this point. Fleming put up great numbers at St. Joe's. If he wasn't, I almost put Rasheer Fleming in that mix of top 5 fantasy redraft guys. I'm not there yet. It's probably not going to happen. But he can do a lot of stuff. There's some scoring, shooting, defensive things. Playing him next to Mark Williams, playing him next to all the guards. I would love it. There is still Royce O'Neal and Ryan Dunn. But are we really scared of Ryan Dunn and Royce O'Neal blocking the pathway if someone actually pops? I don't think so. And the other one at pick 41, Kobe Bryant. One of the best shooters in the draft. Kentucky guard. We love a Kentucky guard. Started off at Dayton, I believe, went to Kentucky. Shot unbelievably. Got good size, good frame. Now, they've got a lot of guards, obviously. Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. Don't know why I started with Grayson Allen. Jalen Green. There's a lot of guards there. They're not all going to be there forever. He's a little bigger. He's on the 6'7"-ish side, Breyer. And just getting someone like that and maneuvering yourself around to get values at every pick and useful players is great. CJ Huntley signed to a two-way. Not that he's not really a big part of this deal, but overall, those guys put up. That's a really strong draft class to me. We'll come back and talk about the losers from the draft in a sec. Today's episode, it is brought to you by Game Time. You might want to head to a ball game with your friends. Hey, what are you guys up to tonight? You want to head down to the local ball arena and speak about games with Game Time? Maybe you don't speak like that because you're a normal person, but Game Time is what you want because the prices for tickets to events on Game Time drop the closer you get to. Hence, I guess this is why they call that. It's closer to Game Time. So you get those tickets at a cheaper price. That's not the only thing. Game Time is also the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and it makes it easy to browse the app for upcoming, say, Major League Baseball games, which is happening right at the moment as I'm heading over there next week. Yeah, next week to go see some games at Petco. So get your views right in the app to see what you're seeing from the seat. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, so now we're talking about losers. We're talking about, I was going to do 5, but honestly, I think as a general rule, teams did pretty well in the draft overall. We are also, though, I think, moving into an era back in the NBA where there was a lot of teams who made smart choices consistently, and we've moved back into a little bit of a period here where there are just some absolute idiots or idiotic decisions being made that maybe I will be proved wrong on these. That's totally possible that I could be proved wrong on some of these decisions, but it seems like there are some very weak points to target amongst other teams to actually cook them. Because one, I cannot understand in a million years what the New Orleans Pelicans were doing. For a start, why are you hiring Joe Dumars? Because the owner knew him. No search process. Why then are you bringing the worst executive of the last 10 years to be the guy to run day-to-day stuff? And all the whispers coming out that Joe Dumars doesn't know what's happening around the league. No shit. And he's leaning on Troy Weaver for advice. Could you make a worse decision? And then Troy Weaver making these moves. And then the nepotism, I don't even know what it is. Is it nepotism? Of just the things that come out about Troy Weaver is insane to me. So do I like Jeremiah Fears? That's like an evaluation thing. I'm not a fan of a guard who's a little bit weaker, who can't shoot and can't defend. I hate that. On this team especially. After you just traded for 25-year-old Jordan Poole. I don't understand that. And DeJounte Murray's on your team. I know he's not playing this season, but you don't draft an 18, 19-year-old rookie because someone's out for the majority of the season now. I don't get it. I don't understand Jeremiah Fears at pick 7 on this team. It makes no sense to me. I wouldn't have taken him, right? But I actually can, I look at it and go, okay, whatever. You think Fears is better? I do believe he is one of the best ball handlers, if not the best ball handler in this draft. His free throw shooting is great, getting to the rim, really impressive. The other stuff, I don't like really any of it. But whatever, you believe in it, that's fine. This all goes into like fit. I don't, not even fit, like the mix of the team. Don't love it. The next pick is insane. Is it insane because Derek Queen's a bad player? No, not at all. Derek Queen is a really interesting offensive player. Can't shoot, can't defend. He's a good low post guy, which, like, whatever. That's fine. Can he jump? Not really. Is there a worse fit next to Zion Williamson? Well, the next worst fit might be the guy that took last year, and Eve Missy. You need, if you're playing Zion Williamson, again, if you're committing to him as the face of the franchise, which they said they are, many times, send him to the draft lottery, promote him everywhere. If he is the guy, you can't play these guys together. It makes no sense. So even if they just had pick 13 and picked Derek Queen there, go for it. I'd not go for it. I would have said that's terrible. That is a terrible fit. But the value, I get it. Like if it was another team at pick 13, say Washington had pick 13 and they were pairing him with Alex Sarr. Love it. Say the Spurs at pick 14 took Derek Queen. Oh my God, love it with Wemby. That works fantastically well. This pick makes no sense. But then to give up Like, to move up 10 spots and give up what could be literally the number one pick next season is malpractice and insane. And then for Derek Queen to come out and talk about how he's mates with Troy Weaver's son, and that's why you picked him, but like, what are we talking about? They picked Micah Peavy at pick 40, which is the pick they got for the Wizards in the pool deal. That's fine. No problem with that. And the last one, it doesn't really matter. He signed to a two-way, undrafted free agent, Hunter Dickinson. I don't think he's an NBA player. Been in college for 30 years. Guess where he's from? Oh yeah, the DMV. Guess who's from the DMV? Troy Weaver. I wonder if he's mates with Troy Weaver's son. He almost certainly is. Idiocy abounds with this team. One of the worst draft and execution of a plan that I've ever seen. Just insane. In saying all of that, like, I could be wrong. And maybe Queen is awesome. Zion is moved on from it, and Queen becomes this low post, Sabonis, Şengün, Jokic hub type player. Maybe. And even if that happens, it is still one of the worst drafts I've ever seen because giving up that pick is insane. I don't think we should be drafting Derek Queen in redraft leagues because, again, Trey Murphy, Zion, Herb, Poole, Messi. Does Queen start? It's going to be unbelievably yuck if he does. Now, could Queen and Messi work together? Theoretically, yeah, could. And if Zion is hurt, huge possibility, Queen would actually be okay there. And then we'd get more into it. Like, if they decide that if Zion's hurt immediately, we would add Queen straight away, right? No question for that in fantasy. But it's the process behind it all that is just absolutely ludicrous. Let's talk about another team that stunk. The Brooklyn Nets. Now, that can be considered maybe a little harsh. I get that. You had 5 first-round picks. I didn't think they'd keep them all. I understand doubling down or even tripling down at times on one position just to see because you needed to hit. Totally agree with that philosophy. Taking Yegor Demin at 8 makes no sense to me. I had Yegor Demin in the teens. He cannot shoot. He is 6'9". I don't think he's a good dribbler. I think he's a good passer. Sorry, no. I don't think he's a good shooter or dribbler or defender. Passer, yeah, he's a really good passer, but he's not an elite passer. He's not going to be a high usage guy. So I didn't mention him as a redraft guy because, look, it could be him, but it could be one of the other 3-point guards they drafted. It probably is Demin, but Demin, I think, would have a profile very similar to Isaiah Collier last season, where he'd get 7 or 8 assists, and everything else was bad. And then you had to make the decision whether that was worth it, and for the large part of it, it wasn't. This Brooklyn team is going to be horrific this season. It's going to be so bad. You're going to see a lot of 25 minutes for 10 players in a game. You're going to see a lot of these guys mixing and matching all the time with horrific percentages. It's going to be terrible. So we can't really rely upon that. So I don't like Demin at 8. I love Nolan Traore at 19. I would have taken him at 8, honestly, over Demin. I wouldn't have taken him at 8. There were other guys I had there, but close enough. So I actually like the Traore pick. And I hope that he gets a crack at being that starter on this team. I don't think he will. Drake Powell at 22 is whatever. It's fine. He's got a lot of work to do. He won't be a fantasy guy, I don't think, ever. I'm not even sure he'll ever develop into a starter, but it's fine. The next 2 picks, I don't understand. Like, Ben Saraf and Danny Wolf at 26 and 27. Saraf can't shoot. He's another bigger ball-handling point guard. Very similar to Demin. Not quite as tall as Demin. Worse passer than Demin. Equally bad as a shooter. Danny Wolf's a center who worked as a point guard for Michigan. He's a good rebounder when he was at Yale. I don't know that he can shoot, but he's not good enough to play that role in the NBA. So what is the point of any of this? You took these guys with, interesting decision-making skills. Demin, Saraf, Traore, Wolf, passing, decision-making, ball moving, all that sort of stuff. But there's no way in the world you can play all of these guys together. There's not enough complementary skills here because none of them can shoot. They all need the ball in their hands. So that's going to make it impossible to sort of judge things fantasy-wise because them out there at the same time as each other is going to look disgusting. The idea behind, I like Traore at 19. I hate Demin at 8. I hate Powell at 22. I don't like Saraf at 26. And Wolf at 27 would be fine if you hadn't have done everything else he'd done with the previous picks. So I just don't like what they did in the draft. You're going to be shocked to know this, guys. I hate what the Raptors did. And today we're hearing the news that Masai Ujiri is out. So I can't even blame Masai anymore. But let's be honest. Masai's had his eyes off the ball for the last 4 years anyway. Won the title, decided to just love everyone on the title team, which absolutely you should, and then screwed the franchise for many years to come. They picked Colin Murray-Boyles at number 9. Okay, again, Colin Murray-Boyles could easily be a top 10 player in this draft. That's okay. I understand that. I don't think he is, because I think the offense is just really bad, and I don't think defensively he's going to be able to be enough to make up for that. But how does it make sense on this team? You can't, Murray-Boyles playing with Barnes and Barrett and Ingram and Pirtle. Where? How? When? How does it... If your franchise is Scotty Barnes, you can't... him and Murray-Boyles don't make sense to me. I don't understand that pick at all. Where does he play? What position is he? Is he a power forward? Is he a center? How does it work? He has got really good steals and block numbers coming out of college. His college team was also absolutely horrific, and his offense is really bad. His passing is good. So there are people who have him as a top 5 player in this draft. I do not. So I understand that. That's okay. But to me, again, if it was just a different team in this position that was taking Colin Murray-Boyles, that didn't have your team committed to this core of players, considering they now allegedly want to extend Yucca Pirtle and Barnes is there, are they trading Barrett? I don't know. You shouldn't draft for fit necessarily, but there are just certain things where it makes no sense. Because Barnes is there. So why would Murray-Boyles does not make sense with Barnes? And I don't think that Murray-Boyles had such an advantage over other guys coming behind him. For example, Mulwatch, who went 1 pick later, who actually thinks probably going to be a better shooter than Murray-Boyles. I actually like their pick at 39 of Elijah Martin and getting Chucky Hepburn on a 2-way. Totally okay. Totally fine. But to me, that Murray-Boyles pick is head-scratching. Much like so many things they've done over the last couple of seasons. And I just haven't liked them. The last team I want to talk about in terms of the losers from the draft are the Portland Trailblazers. Now, when Portland had pick 11 and they selected Cedric Coward, and it's a little interesting. Don't love Cedric Coward there. He's a little on the older side. Their wings value always rises up. I think he can shoot. The shot blocking is a little fake. He only played 6 games. He did it against weak competition. I don't think he's that good. All right. Memphis traded quite a bit to get him. They traded, 3 second-round picks to move up 5 spots, and obviously Portland got pick 16. Yes? So that was a lot for Memphis. I almost put Memphis on the, what are you doing sort of list. But whatever. Coward might work. It's okay. The fit is fine with Coward in Memphis. That sort of player is good if it hits. So Portland, I thought, okay, that's good. You've got this haul of seconds. You moved back. Well done. I'm not even including the idea of why did you trade for Drew Holiday. Look, what are we doing there? Then at pick 16, you pick Young Hansen. Who, again, whatever. He is a big center. He played in Summer League for the Chinese national team last season, and you saw some of the things he did. Go, that's okay. But he didn't dominate the Chinese league to the level that he needed to dominate the Chinese league. He's, 20 years of age. He is currently their 4th string center. And you can say whatever you want about, DeAndre Ayton will be moved, or Rob Williams can't stay healthy. Probably all true. They drafted Donovan McClingan last season at pick 7, right? I'm not sold on Donovan McClingan necessarily, but I'm less sold on Young Hansen. Now, maybe they tried to trade down again and was convinced that someone else is going to get him. But to me, that's a player that, if you convince someone else is going to get him, let them. There is so much more they could have done in this position. And they said, straight out, he's going to be spending time in the G League this season. So I know there's going to be, I get the feeling that Hansen is going to be one of those players with, let's just say, a little of a fruity fan base that gets a little unrealistic with their expectations. I had someone tell me already he's their best center. Bro, come on. He's going to be in the G League this season. It's pick 16. I don't think he can do anything enough defensively to make it make sense. I think it's a waste of assets again. You made the good move and then you wasted it here, because you can't play with Ayton, you can't play with Klingon, can't play with Williams. He's not going to play at all this season. It's a waste. But then you make a move to get Drew Holiday with more money on his contract to sort of push to win now, while you use pick 16 for a G League center. Why? It just doesn't make sense. And then their 2-way guy that they signed is is Caleb Love, who, again, everyone will know Caleb Love's name. We've all heard of Caleb Love, right? But is Caleb Love actually like an NBA player? Is he? Like, bro played 5 years in college. What did he play? 34 minutes a night last season for Arizona, and he averaged 17 points. He shot 34% from three, under 40% from the field. I don't want to go on about a two-way guy, but like, I know you've heard the name before. But if the guys you come out of this draft are Young Han Sen and Caleb Love, I don't know, that smells. It smells a lot to me. Doesn't smell as good as fresh ceviche, because that's a good smell, and that's what today is. And that's my take on the draft overall. Like I said, Dynasty Rookie Rankings will be the next shows that come out. Then there'll be individual draft recaps where we go through every single player, every single undrafted guy, every single two-way player, and give grades out to teams. But because of what I need to do in terms of timing things, it'll just be a little bit later. It'll still happen, and it'll happen before Summer League, so you get your Summer League primer of guys you want to watch that are playing. But that's how we will do that. Again, not perfect. I apologize. Troy Weaver's running the show. Hit the subscribe on the video, thumb it up, and leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Tell me what you think. Is there someone else that you would draft in a redraft league? Would you take Queen, Fears, Edgecombe, Bailey? Again, I just think it's going to be hard to get there. Trey Johnson, he's the only one I could think of. Maybe I'll go Trey. But it's a weird league. It's a weird draft. It's a weird time. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.